This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, isn't he?
Happy Sunday, everybody. If that don't get you fired up for a football show, I don't know what will. The rock and roll part 2. Gary Glitter, who is now sitting in a jail cell in England, just to let you all know. He got in a lot of trouble over there in England, messing around with some young girls. So they don't go for that in England. I don't think they go for that anywhere, but especially in England. So welcome to the Mac Jack. Sonia, who is on vacation. She's happy birthday to Sonia Pearson and Jim. Big Football Show and More. We changed the title because we'll be covering more than football as we go along here. And of course, next Sunday, the football season, the regular season, postseason comes to an end. So we'll be getting a lot more different news in there and everything. Good morning to you. Good morning, Jack. Good morning, Jim. How you doing today?
Good morning.
Yes. So Jack is not going to say good morning to anybody because that's just the way he is.
I never say good morning, Mac. We talk before the show. Don't insult the intelligence of the viewers. They think you're first seeing me now. They know what I said good morning off the air.
I love to get Jack wound up. They don't know what we do before the show, Jack.
That's right.
They have no idea what we're talking about. They don't know we're talking about bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and all that good stuff. The Philly sports guy will be on to explain himself about that. Of course, we'll have Keith Angle. I invited Byron in. I haven't had a word back. I don't know if he's home or he's anywhere, but if he gets in, we'll let him come in too. So anyway, guys, so let's start with the news today. The teams and the drama surrounding the game is what I like to call it. Travis Kelce talks to the younger players on the team, Jim. He's talking to them about what it's like to be in the Super Bowl. You know, you go in there, you take care of business. While on the other side of the ball, I think his name is Ward, is talking about taking in the sights before the game. So two opposite ways of looking at this. And, you know, I would imagine it's take care of business, right? You've been there.
Yeah, and tell you a story about that is none of us had been to the Super Bowl before except for Charles Haley. And the first day we went to practice for the Super Bowl, it wasn't very good. And Charles called the team up and said, hey, this is not how you win Super Bowls. This is how we got to practice, and we got to practice hard. The next day, that was probably the best practice of the year because he had been there and he realized, and he had won Super Bowls, and he realized what it took to win Super Bowls. And that's right. When you got guys who've been there, they understand this is not a normal game. So you have to prepare different for the game.
No doubt. Good morning, Keith from TGI Sports Talk, joining us every Sunday morning as he does. And Keith, as I told everyone, we've changed this name of the show as we slowly go from the NFL into the other areas of sports. We have the NBA, and of course, hockey we may touch on a little bit, Major League Baseball as it comes up. Good morning to you, Keith.
Good morning. Good. How are you guys doing today?
Morning, Keith.
We're doing
good. Good morning, Keith.
Yeah, Keith.
Sing him for the first time, so Keith gets a good morning.
He'll say good morning to you, but he doesn't say good morning to me or Jim. So,
I see you guys before the show. I'm saying Keith for the first time.
I say good morning, guys. That includes three people.
He did say good morning, guys.
I will say this. I like Keith a lot. The only thing that bothers me, whenever I'm about to make a comment on the show, Keith pops in just a moment before, and I got to hold back, and then I can't make the comment anymore because we switched topics.
Don't blame Keith. I'm the one popping him in. I just wait for the right moment when you're ready to talk.
Oh my goodness. Jack is extremely sensitive this morning. What's going on?
Jack reminds me of this guy that works for me, and he will always preface his comments when he wants to talk to me with something like, no disrespect intended, and then I know I'm about to be disrespected for about 20 minutes.
That sounds like Jack. So Keith, we start talking about the coaches, and this will run right into what we're talking to you about. Jeff Haley jumps from Boston College, your favorite college in sports, and he's going into the NFL. Is this the influx of college football? I mean, you're bringing in coaches now from college into the pros because college football is kind of setting the standard rather than the NFL now.
Well, they all run pro style offenses, so it's easier to bring coaches, from that level or go back and forth, if you will. Jeff Haley is probably, in fact, Jeff Haley's a Siena grad from up here near Albany too. So he has some local ties to where I am. He's had a fair run at Boston College, but he's probably on one of the hottest seats in the country at Boston College. So he's probably getting out a little bit ahead of the posse here. But he comes he's highly thought of in the coaching ranks, and I don't know how much this Boston College run has hurt that.
Now, it was a possibility that Bill O'Brien might get that job.
It's possible. He's got some ties to the area, and he does want to coach again. And I do think if Bill O'Brien coaches again, it probably will be at the college level.
Head coach, because he's at Ohio State, correct?
Yeah, head coach, I mean, yes. I don't think he'll be a head coach in the pros again. But there's some other Dan Mullins in the running there. The defense Al Golden, who's the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame's in the running there. So
Al Golden's a Penn State guy, right?
Yes. Had a good run at Temple. Did a really poorly at Miami.
He's a Jersey, Central Jersey, Red Bank.
Yeah.
Catholic, so
Yeah.
A lot of Jersey coaches and players. I'll tell you, that state produces a lot of sports guys there. In a really strange story, Keith, judge dismisses an Ole Miss player's lawsuit versus Lane Kiffin. Yeah. The suit alleges, get this, denial of equal protection, sexual discrimination, violations of the American Disabilities Act, and he even has the coach's choice of clothing in there that he's disagreeing with. So that's all in the lawsuit. Of course, I'm making that up. So I mean, what do you make of this guy suing his former coach?
It's a reflection on society today. I think we're a very litigious society, and we like to, if we see an opportunity, we're going to try to take it. Somebody got in his ear and said, you know what, there's probably money to be made here because he made you wear whatever shoe apparel company Lane Kiffin's affiliated with, which every university does, by the way. Right. I think you can probably attest to that. You're going to wear the school that they have are getting paid by. And again, it was dismissed, I think, because it's just a lot of hooey.
Yeah, but it got a coach fired, Mike Leach, when he made Adam James wear the sunglasses because he had a concussion.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was at Texas Tech, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He had a few things go on there at Texas Tech, and again, not to change the subject, but Mike Leach's problems mostly go back to Craig James, and hit one of his kids was involved in a lot.
That was Adam James, his son.
Yeah. So
no relation to Rick James, but the money that he's requesting is $10 million of compensation and $30 million in punitive damages. I guess he yelled at him or something. I don't know what happened.
Oh, don't yell at kids either today, by the way. Don't hurt my feelings or I will sue you.
Exactly.
You're right. It's an unusual time in college.
It's crazy. No, I think they're dismissed, no?
Yes.
A simple thing like a coach grabbing a player by, the chin strap, pull him towards him to say something. even if they have a great relationship, like a father-son relationship, that coach could get fired.
Yeah.
They see that. It's wild.
You're
It
right.
is crazy today, for sure. I wouldn't be a coach today. Jeez.
College basketball news: New Mexico State men's basketball player Rob Carpenter decided to throw a punch at the opposing
Not the fullback.
team.
No,
Not the Giants fullback. No. Jim's gonna play the game with you. Excellent, Jim. He punched him in the face after they got tangled up underneath the net. The head coach of New Mexico State apologized to the Liberty head coach, and Nebraska upsets Wisconsin late. I had to throw that in there too. I don't know why I just ran.
Wisconsin's a big surprise in the Big Ten this year. They played pretty well so far early in the season. As far as a punch goes, there's never any cause for that. I mean, if you're squaring off with each other, I guess there's one thing. But he pretty much blindsided this kid.
Yeah,
and you could have hurt him badly. Every time I see something like that where the other guy doesn't see it coming, I flash back to Kermit Washington and Rudy Tomjanovich back in the 70s, and
Broke his jaw.
I actually interviewed Kermit Washington, who's a great guy, and he has a lot of remorse for that, but he does not think he really did anything wrong in that moment. He didn't know what was going on. So, but it's a scary situation, and you could really, change somebody's life pretty quickly. So there's never any reason for that.
you definitely can. There's the top 10 team lose to an underranked team, 80-72. Won't get any easier because the Badgers are hosting Purdue. Wisconsin is having a little problems right now, Keith.
Big Ten's wide open, except for Purdue. Purdue's one of the best teams in the country. But other than that, the Big Ten is wide open, really, for me. They may get as many as 8 or 9 slots in the tournament.
You think that many?
It's possible. Again, I think a lot can happen from here, through the conference tournaments. But you're looking at, oddly enough, like 3 teams out of the ACC and 8, 9 teams from the Big 10, Big 12. So,
and SEC's got a couple of teams that are pretty good.
But so many things can happen that, from here. Bids get stolen by, teams winning conference tournaments, and they have to take the league champions. So I think the Big Ten will have a bunch. It's a very even league outside of Purdue.
Interesting.
So some Patriots news. We always have Patriots news on Sunday too with Keith. Washington, despite their denials, Washington did consider hiring Belichick for the job there. And it's just great. It's crazy. The greatest head coach in the history of maybe in the history of football will actually probably have to wait a year before he does coach again.
At least a year. I mean, there's every chance he could be done. He'll be 72 years old, and unless the right opportunity opens on both sides, that's what you're finding. Just because you want a job doesn't mean you're going to get one. I don't think he wants just any situation either. Yeah. There is some. You said they had some interest in him, and it seems like there was at least some communication through back channels, if nothing else. I don't think he wanted that. I don't know that he would have taken that job if offered it, because I think there's going to take a couple of years to get things right there.
And Keith, after the first week of the NFL season, Belichick's name is going to be out there and gaining momentum every week. A team gets off to a 0-3 start, Belichick. And you better believe Coach Belichick is probably going to be studying those teams a little extra carefully. Who might be on? He's studying now who's on his potential radar, who he could go to depending the start they get off. So it could even be a team. Imagine the Eagles get off to a 0-3 start. Belichick could find himself over there conceivably early in the season.
We'll see it in New York. They have a bad practice.
Yeah, the most shocking to me is Mike Vrabel because of his age and his success.
I'm very surprised either Washington or Seattle, specifically in my mind, and Atlanta, were not interested in Mike Vrabel. I thought he'd get a job in a heartbeat when he got fired.
Well, Raheem Morris is a favorite son of the Falcon organization, being there in the past. I think Vrabel's problem is the same as Belichick. The perception is he'll command too much power, and these new GMs, they want their own guy they can control.
Well, Listen, Rich McKay's not a new GM, by the way. He's been losing power there right and left. And I think this is his last stand. If Raheem Morris, and I like Raheem Morris, and if they get a quarterback, they may be, because they got some talent on that team. They may turn it around. But if this fails, I think Rich McKay is done in Atlanta as well, because Arthur Brand, we know, wanted Belichick, at least at the outset, and he talked him out of it. So
interesting. Harbaugh predicts J.J. McCarthy goes to the Patriots with the third pick as their starting quarterback. He talked, of course, about the Brady Michigan connection and maybe the J.J. McCarthy Michigan connection.
It's interesting. We've had good luck with Michigan quarterbacks in the past. If we could get them in the 6th round, I'd be much happier. But
if someone takes
JJ McCarthy's not getting chosen with the 3rd pick in the draft. I can tell you right now, whether it's the Patriots or somebody else, he's not getting picked with the 3rd pick.
Let me ask this question. What is the likelihood of New England moving up to get Caleb Williams?
Unlikely, I believe. I mean, things will be different now. In the past, obviously, there was not their history to move up. It was always to move down. I think they'll kick this pick. Keep this pick. There's a lot of talk. And it may depend on who the GM ends up being. They still don't have a general manager.
That is true.
That they may go offensive tackle with that pick. So
either Alt or there's another one out there.
I'm trying to. It was Alt, and I'm forgetting the second guy now.
Yeah,
myself. But again, there's some really good offensive tackles available in this draft, and I don't know that they're sold on the quarterbacks. I think myself, you can get a quarterback 2nd, 3rd round. Michael Pratt looked great at the Senior Bowl this week. He's a guy that I know. Who's that?
Yeah, Michael Pratt. You thinking Penix?
No, I'm Pratt from Tulane. He looked really good.
Really? Okay.
Senior Bowl. Penix. I know that his former teammate Gonzalez is kind of petitioning him. Michael Penix is probably going on day 2. And
yeah, that's what I would think.
Yeah, and listen, you could do probably worse than bring him in the 2nd round with your 2nd pick if he's available.
They said the most disappointing player in the Senior Bowl was Bo Nix.
Heard that. Did not play a lot in the game either. Sure, good things about Shane Rattler, at least during practice. He didn't play a lot. Yeah, he didn't play a lot yesterday, but during the week, he was one of the best players in camp. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. J.J. McCarthy, I will not say they won't draft him, but it will not be at the 3rd pick. He's not going on day 1 either, I don't think.
If the Bears want Marvin Harrison Jr., they can easily get him and get their draft haul, because if Caleb Williams is in big demand by the Patriots or Washington, they flip-flop. All they have to do is flip-flop picks, and they can get additional picks in return, maybe a number 1 next year.
And that's what I was thinking.
This year. And outside of Caleb Williams, a team has to get their head examined if they don't take Marvin Harrison Jr., because they're picking strictly for needs. Drake May is not a sure thing.
Well, here's my theory on that.
Daniels is not a sure thing. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a sure thing.
I would, but did you see the receiver from Washington? I don't know how to say his name. Azumi?
That's close enough. Yeah.
That kid is pretty good. And then last year, the Rams take that kid Puka, and Puka was really one of the best players in the league. So you can find receivers.
Yeah, you can.
They might not be as talented as Marvin Harrison, but you can find receivers.
Yeah, you can find any position, but the best players are usually the ones taken higher. A Malik Neighbors is more of a sure thing than a guy you're going to get in the 5th round.
Yeah, I would guess. Again, to me, any first choice in the first 32 teams has a lot of talent and will probably end up playing. So no matter where you pick or who you pick, you're going to get a good draft pick with your first round.
In this era, the hardest thing is to find offensive linemen because of the schemes.
I agree.
Does Joe Alt fall to number 10 to the Jets?
Who?
Joe Alt.
It's possible.
Could. I don't think he will, but he could. Who knows? You never know.
Yeah.
I do agree with Jack about one thing. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in this draft.
I don't know. Best player at his position, Keith, please.
He's the best player in the draft. He's the most sure thing at next level.
No, he's the best player at his position.
I've only watched every game he played for the last 3 years.
That's right. He watched every game.
I don't care. I don't care. You can't.
He's the best player in the draft.
No, he's not, Keith.
He's the second coming of Megatron, like Jim said.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's the best player.
I think he's really good. But when you talk about Megatron, that's all different.
He's the best player at his position. There are tight ends at their position that you can say are better than Marvin Harrison if you want.
No, I'm not going to say that because I just said there is nobody better than Marvin Harrison.
He is not the best player, but he's not the best player to position.
He's going to be as good as Michael Irvin.
You don't know
better than Michael Irvin. But here's the thing you got to look at: the success that Ohio State receivers had when they went to the NFL. You saw it in New Orleans. You saw it in Seattle. You see it everywhere. You see it in
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson and the Jets. So they have had a lot of success in the NFL. So
I could argue right now Frank Gore Jr. is better than Marvin Harrison. How about that? I could argue that.
Well, okay. You can. I disagree.
Nobody hear you.
I could argue that.
I mean, if I'm running the Patriots, I find a way without trading that third pick to get myself Josh Fields if the Bears want to move him, and I pick Marvin Harrison with the third pick. That's what I do.
You're not going to get Marvin Harrison. Get out of here.
We aren't. Because
well, they could because it's the third pick. Because
they could.
Washington
Robert Kraft. Let's get off Marvin Harrison because now it's making me sick. Robert Kraft sends a message in a letter to the season ticket holders. This is a critical point in franchise history. The highest draft pick since drafting Drew Bledsoe. My brother-in-law loved this guy. He had his rookie card. He thought he was going to have big dollars off of this. So what do you? I mean, is this because he's going to raise prices? Is that why he's sending out a letter right now, Keith?
Well, unless you're the Jets, I don't know how you raise prices when you're having a horrible football team. But the Jets can talk more about that than I can. I don't know if that's the case. I think he does feel, obviously, this is a huge time in Patriots history. A few years ago, the franchise quarterback walked away. Now the best coaching in the history of the NFL has left, and it's obvious a pivotal moment in Patriot history. And this pick is huge in my mind.
Jared Mayo already gave it away, basically saying they're going to draft a quarterback. He's basically gave it away.
Who?
Jared Mayo, their new coach.
I didn't hear him say that. What did he say?
The quarterback position is the thing that's going to get addressed first and foremost, and then no free agents.
That doesn't mean it's drafted a quarterback. That could be Mac Jones.
They hired Alex.
No, they're moving addressed, meaning they're not sticking with Mac Jones is gone. Basically,
there's a lot of conversation in Foxborough that Mac Jones still may get another shot in the week. Yeah, but I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the case. I'm not excited about the Alex Van Pelt hiring, by the way, either myself.
So wait a minute. Let me get to that. Let me get to that, Keith, because as you said, they've redone their whole coaching staff over there in New England. You got Mayonnaise, who was promoted, DeMarcus Covington, defensive coordinator. ESPN's Alex Van Pelt is your new offensive coordinator, and Jerry Springer is your special teams coach. So you got
Jerry Springer. Holy Christ, we're gonna have quite a team there.
That was the question I was going to ask you. Is I thought that Mayo would bring back Josh McDaniels.
I did too, and it's apparent that he wants to move away from the old way of doing things and just running it back with guys that have been there.
I played with Alex in Buffalo.
He was a journeyman quarterback, right? I mean,
yes, he was.
He's also been around the league a little bit as a coach. I don't know how much I love this hire, but we'll find out. Covington, I liked them keeping the continuity of that defense together. He did it. And Mayo's worked with him for quite a while now, so I'm not surprised about that. You may see the Belichick kids come back now that their father doesn't have a job.
Did you hear what's happening? They might go to Seattle.
They might what?
They might go to Seattle. The Belichick.
Really?
No, I'm sorry. They might go to college and go to the University of Washington with Jed Frisch.
Expatriate quarterback
Yes,
coach. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, done a great job at Arizona, and
Yeah, he did a tremendous job there.
he's got a tough job ahead of him at Washington. 2 starters coming back from that team.
Yeah.
2 starters.
Talking about a quarterback that is going to go back to coaching after he retires. You have Teddy Bridgewater saying that he'll be going to his old high school alma mater after he retires. And Jim, I know he's not looking at this, but is this a path back to maybe coaching in college? I know some
possibility of it. I think that's a commendable on Teddy Bridgewater there because those kids need him at Miami Northwestern, and I hope he does well. I don't know if he will, but Bridgewater has always been a good guy. So I think that's a good path.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't want. Maybe he has no motives at all, but he loves his old high school. He loves his alma mater. He'll be happy to spend 20 years there as the coach. I mean, that's how it sounds. If you play for somewhere at high school, you have such a love of the place. You don't need something higher. He's made enough money, you know.
Yeah.
He's to be commended.
Yeah,
definitely. So, Teddy Bridgewater. Oh, Micah Parsons tells the Commanders to take care of Dan Quinn. So, of course, the Commanders have hired Dan Quinn to be their head coach, and me and Jim will talk a little bit about the NFC East.
Let me ask Jim this. Micah Parsons, he can relate cowboy to cowboy. Is there such a thing that someone can be a great player, but not a leader at all? And is that the case with Micah Parsons? Great player, but no real leadership qualities.
Well, if you remember, he had a lot of issues at Penn State, and that's why he didn't play his last year. And he is a tremendous talent, but that doesn't make you a leader. There are a lot of players that are great talent, that have great talent, but they don't lead teams because they don't know how to do it in there. And there's kids with minimal talent that are great leaders.
Sure.
And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And we're in a different era every time it comes out. Every time you get some of the responses.
So let's talk about our division, Jim, the NFC East, and all the swapping going on with the coaches. Now, I wasn't going to go somewhere else with swapping, but
careful.
The coaches, I am being pretty careful. The coach, Keith almost spit out his coffee there. The coaches being swapped around. I mean, we've got of course, we've got the Commanders letting their head coach go. He's now coaching, there. We got more over there in Philadelphia. We got all kinds of coaching moves in the NFC East. Does this hurt or help? We talked about this on a show previous, Jimmy and Jack. Does this hurt or help those teams?
I think it helps them, but I think it makes the NFC East more competitive because obviously you have insights on Dallas because they've won it. They've been 12-5 3 years. And so you have insights on what they're doing and how they're preparing, and that helps them. Philadelphia has probably the most talent in the NFC East, but they haven't had it organized properly. With Fangio and Kellen Moore, they'll probably be a little bit more disciplined in how they do things. Washington, Quinn will do a good job. I mean, they'll play good, but he has to have the right people around him. I mean, and that's the big thing with Dan is on the offensive side, whoever he hires as that OC is basically going to get full range. I'm surprised they're not talking about Bieniemy being his OC because they're talking about Kingsbury.
Yeah, I heard about that. He seemed to disagree with you about Quinn.
I think, he's a great defensive coordinator. I feel like if you want to blow, I can't think of a head coach in recent times who has blown more big leads than Dan Quinn teams. Not counting just the Super Bowl, but even in the regular season, they blew lots of leads, man, in the fourth quarter. There was always something wrong there. He had great coaches. Had Carl Shanahan was his offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah, McDonald was there, and the Rams head coach, right? Am I correct? They were all there.
Yeah. And maybe sometimes
maybe they were in Washington. They might.
And sometimes the second time around, the guys are a lot better. Obviously, Belichick had to get some growing pains. And
That is true.
Yeah, second time around can be better sometimes, Keith. Keith
Well,
Angle
it has
from
to do with developing a player sometimes. I think when we, oh, okay, Mac, you want me to quiet down for the next
let
topic?
me let Keith go. That's the only reason. He's got to get over to
Oh.
his show over there on TGI Sports. Keith, thank you for stopping in as you always do
Thank you,
every
Keith.
Sunday. Have a great
Thanks,
show.
kid.
thanks, guys. Enjoy the Pro Bowl flag football today.
Always. So there you go, Keith Angle from TGI Sports. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jack. Go ahead.
No, what's interesting with the Jim Harbaugh hire with the Chargers, he's joking around Jim Harbaugh, acting starstruck, being around Justin Herbert. That's his franchise quarterback. I'm sure that's a reason he went to the Chargers. Justin Herbert is coming off a really subpar year. I know he didn't have a great offensive line, but what happens if he's one of these quarterbacks who we thought was going to have a great NFL career, could actually be flaming out after like 3 really good years or so?
If you look at Jim Harbaugh's history, I hate to say this, he might be a quarterback whisperer because the way he deals with it, he's dealt with Colin Kaepernick. Even at San Diego, he had a guy that played in the league forever. I mean, he does know quarterbacks. He played the position, and he does a good job of preparation with quarterbacks. And everybody says that that's his biggest asset is how he deals with quarterbacks.
Jim, the good point here. All this Kaepernick talk, I mean, it's basically faded out. Once in a while, it comes in. Oh, a team could sign him. He's been out
And I agree with
years.
that. But Jim went to the Super Bowl with him. Think about it.
Right. But no. But listen to this. That was his guy, Jim Harbaugh, Colin Kaepernick. So if Colin Kaepernick is ever going to wind up back in the league, let's say it's a third string quarterback, Jim Harbaugh could bring him back as a third string quarterback, and he could win the affection of some of the guys on his team by doing that. And Colin Kaepernick's not going to threaten Justin Herbert for the job.
I saw some things about that he could possibly bring Colin Kaepernick back, but do you really want that sideshow back with your team again? That would be the biggest problem. I mean, I don't know if he was kneeling when he was quarterback under Jim Harbaugh. I thought that happened after Jim Harbaugh left. But that would be a sideshow again, and I don't think the Chargers ownership or management wants.
All I'm saying is his quarterbacks have been successful under him. And, he had Luck at Stanford, but he had I cannot remember the guy's name, but he had one that was even at San Diego. He's had successful, and his system it's quarterback friendly because of the things they do.
Well, Alex Smith did really well for him with the 49ers before he replaced him with Kaepernick. And some of the players were baffled because Smith was really a strong number one to them when the move was made.
Harbaugh has a way of building teams around any quarterback he has.
Exactly.
He did it with Kaepernick. He did it with McCarthy down in Michigan. Most recently, a running quarterback that can throw, as almost the same thing as Colin Kaepernick was. So he does know how to design offenses around his quarterbacks for sure, Jim. You're right on.
Yeah, and he's that power running game gives and he sets up the running. He's old school in the ways that he sets up that running game so they can throw, and he's going to get really good receivers too.
And it will be interesting to see how the newer players deal with the old school, old style football that Jim will bring there. We'll see if they respond to that.
What? I think Matt, in my opinion, what he does is that's why he has the scouting department scouts players that fits his vision.
Yeah.
And great coaches have a vision and they let everybody know this is what I want. You talk about Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells had a vision. He wouldn't draft certain players because of height and size.
Right.
And that was it. And certain players have a vision. And, certain coaches, and they let the players know this is my vision. This is what you have to do to be successful in my game.
The only thing I saw about Bill Parcells, with the exception of what you just said about size, is heart. If you had a player that had a lot of heart, I'm trying to think of his name, not right now. Number 80 there for the Giants. I don't remember his name.
McConkey.
Yeah, McConkey and that guy that had cancer. These guys were overachievers, and and he loved overachievers at any position. So that's the only difference I say what you say there. That's like a that's not the example. That's different from what you're saying. But he loved players with a lot of heart, and he fed off that too. So let's get back to the coaches changes. The Steelers are turning they're turning to a new coach because of their underachieving offense to the Falcons coach Arthur Smith. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Atlanta had an underachieving offense too. So I don't know if that's a good move or not, Jim.
Well, he did well at Tennessee. He might be, just like you said, if you ever think about it, Norv Turner wasn't a very good head coach, but he was a pretty darn good offensive coordinator. And some guys, just like we talk about Josh McDaniels, he's had success as an offensive coordinator, but he struggled as a head coach. Some guys are not good head coaches, and that's not a negative against them. That's just
Well, Arthur Smith had Desmond Ridder to work with. Could anyone have developed Desmond Ridder and Tyler Heineke? He didn't have really a lot to work with.
That is true.
So now he has Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett might not even be the starter for the Steelers next year. Mike Tomlin wants Mason Rudolph back, and who knows who's going to win that job, which should be a lesson. Don't pick according to need unless you absolutely have to, okay? Just pick the best player in the draft. When Kenny Pickett was there, the Steelers needed to address the quarterback situation. There were other guys they could have taken. A couple of picks ahead of them, they could have moved up easily and gotten Trent McDuffie. They would have been so much better off, but they went according to need, and he's just another guy, really.
They picked Pickett because he was from Pittsburgh, his hometown.
They practiced in the same facility, correct?
So I think that had more to do with it than his quarterback, Jack. But anyway, it didn't work out. It doesn't look like it's going to work out.
No. He might still be a good quarterback, but he stinks, Jack. You don't count on Kenny Pickett to be a franchise quarterback.
I don't mean he stinks. To be in NFL, you got to be good. I don't mean that. I'm just saying as a starting quarterback, he's not good. He's a second string quarterback, maybe he's that, but he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
But
you need to develop him. You need to develop Kenny Pickett over 3-4 years, but in today's NFL, you don't have the time to do that.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you got to look at it, especially in the quarterback position. And we've seen quarterbacks that they didn't give him time. Jordan Love is a prime example. They gave him time to develop because I remember everybody said he's not good enough. In this right in here, you said he wasn't good enough. He had time to develop. Justin Fields is getting better. Will he be great? I don't know. But I'm telling you what, he'll have a lot of talent around him. If he can't do it now, he won't. Quarterbacks have to, because of the schemes in college, coming to the NFL is a little bit different. There are very few. Name them in the last. Yeah, I mean, look at it. You talk about Justin Herbert and how he's struggling. Yeah, he can throw up a lot of numbers, but is he winning games?
Yeah.
No, Jim, I don't go along with that. We have a case of so many quarterbacks where you give them years and you're still not sure whether they're your guy. Look at the Giants with Daniel Jones. They're not sure whether Daniel Jones is their guy or not. He's been there for years.
He's some of the issue, but he's not all. It's just like with Dak Prescott.
Well, Dak, is a top-notch starting quarterback. I mean, he's a franchise quarterback.
But everybody thought because he hasn't been to have success in the playoffs, they think he's just the guy.
Listen, Dak Prescott has been successful for years.
Yes.
Daniel Jones hasn't played in years because of injuries and whatnot. So it's hard to compare those two together. I think Daniel Jones is done with the Giants. I really do. If they get If they get a good rookie quarterback, Jim, I mean, he's going to be on the roster next year. I don't know. I don't know whether he's going to last with the Giants.
Well, I'm going to say this. What Mac is alluding to, what Mac's saying. If one of these named quarterbacks is there in the second round, like a Bo Nix, who might very well be there, that's the direction I think the Giants go. And I don't think they use their first pick. Number 6 overall, they're not using on the quarterback unless something crazy happens, like one of the quarterbacks they think is definitely going number 1 and number 2, like Caleb Williams somehow falls to him. The Giants are at second round of the draft. I predict they take a quarterback.
I know Joe showing they need offensive tackle. And Neal is not cutting it out there. And they also need another tight end with Waller being injured. We were hoping that he wouldn't keep being injured, but he's had problems still in that area. Yes. So one of those two positions, I think.
Brock Bowers maybe is their tight end.
That's what I kept saying is Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers.
That's a good possibility. Your favorite coach, the Raiders hire Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coach.
Oh no, they didn't.
They didn't.
No,
he turned it down.
About that?
No.
What turned him down? They were going to take him, and he didn't like the way the contract was worded. So he said, I think they hired Luke Gesty.
How is the contract worded?
I don't know. Now
they give him your money or you don't. He's guaranteed X amount, and
No, he's not going to. He is not going to the Raiders.
Okay, all right. Well,
yeah.
There you go. The Titans did hire Jags Nick Holtz, I think, to be their offensive coordinator. Nick Holtz, is he related to Skip or any of the Holtz? Well, he's related, in some way, but is he a direct relations to Skip Holtz and those players?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is, I think it was the Rams hired.
Yes.
Don Shula's grandson. Yeah.
Chris Shula. Yeah.
He was Shula's son who coached the Bengals for some years.
He was going to Miami. They interviewed him for the defensive coordinator job over there, and I guess the Rams cut that off at the pass, and they said, "Stay with us as a defensive coordinator." So,
I mean, to show you the way the NFL has changed, back in the day when David Shula was 23 years old and his dad, Don, was a hot commodity coaching in the NFL still, there was serious talk of the Eagles wanting to give the head coaching job to David Shula. Could you imagine in this day and age, any NFL franchise wants to hire a 23-year-old son of an NFL coach? I mean, it would be insane today to even think that.
That is true. That is true. Well, how old was John Madden when he got his first head coaching job? Because he was pretty young, wasn't he?
John Madden was about 32. Linda can look that up. Yeah, he was young. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of young.
Madden had a great personality. He never got too big. He could always seem to work in a system. He was a people's person, so he was not threatening to anyone. And Al Davis liked him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's the truth. Defensive backfield, DK McDonald. We'll talk about this a little bit more when Pass comes on. They have no interest in bringing him back. That's the third defensive back coach in 3 years. I know their defensive backfield had problems, especially at the end of the year, but they were injured. I mean, I don't know how you can coach anybody that's injured. So, but anyway, they got rid of them, and they got a safety coach coming in. I'm not sure where I got that, but anyway, they're replacing him with a safeties coach, same position.
I don't know what team you're talking about, Matt.
The Eagles.
The Eagles. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then Vic Fangio is bringing in some of his guys.
Right.
You know what's weird? You mentioned, Mac, a little while ago, the NFC East. You know what's very ironic about it? Brian Daboll, the Giant coach, is more secure in his position than both Nick Sirianni and Mike McCarthy are, and Bears, even though they've had a lot more success. It all goes back to what you frequently stress, relationships, because Daboll is in solid with Joe Shine, the GM. He's not on the hot seat the way the other two are.
But what is fascinating is, obviously, we know that McCartney's in his last year of his contract. how does that play into getting a defensive coordinator?
They're pretty much.
Yeah.
They're pretty much all the good defensive coordinators, except for Rex Ryan, I guess, are
Zimmer's pretty good. Mike Zimmer. I don't know if they'll hire him, but Zimmer's pretty good.
I read that too.
I don't get something. Rex Ryan, say what you want about him. He really is an excellent defensive coordinator. People forget he was a defensive coordinator with that great Raven defense that won the Super Bowl with Ray Lewis.
No, he wasn't. Marvin Lewis was the defensive coordinator.
Wait, what was Rex? Rex was on that staff.
He was the D-line coach.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Marvin
Okay, good point.
Yes, great point.
What's happened to Marvin Lewis? He's
the assistant head coach for the LA Raiders. He's the assistant head coach.
Good stuff, Jim.
The Bills.
How come his name never comes up then for head coaching positions? I mean, I know he had all those years with the Bengals.
Yeah.
Leslie Frazier, Jim, assistant head coach, moved from the Bills. Am I correct?
Yes, to the Seattle Seahawks.
Right.
He mentored Keith. Is it Ken McDonald?
Yeah, I think so.
The head coach. He mentored him. Leslie's a good coach now.
He took a year off for what? Personal reasons?
I think him and McDermott were having issues on how the defense should be run. And
that was the personal reasons.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. But Leslie's a good coach. I've known Leslie for years, and he does a good job. And he's had success in the NFL. And now he's the assistant head coach. So I'm sure he's going to help him get the staff together, especially on defense.
Right.
But I think, like I've said, I think it's fascinating that so many defensive coaches from the Baltimore Ravens are now around the league. Anthony Weaver, obviously, you're going to talk about him and things of that nature.
I'm going to tell you the interesting thing. We talk about the coordinators, assistant coaches. Eric Bieniemy's name, of course, always comes up. I think this is going to be revealing. If he doesn't have a job, would Andy Reid take him back, not as the offensive coordinator, but let's say as a quarterback coach on his staff in some capacity? I don't think that's going to happen.
I do.
I mean, not that he did. I'm sure Andy Reid is thankful for what Eric Bieniemy did, but some of these assistant coaches, you can't afford to have too big of a personality.
Yeah, but what happened also is, if you remember earlier in the playoffs, they tried to get Eric Bieniemy out of his contract with Washington. Washington denied it. They wanted him back in Kansas City. So I think that's right.
Well, Matt Nagy. Yeah.
Good.
How would that have benefited the Chiefs' Bieniemy coming back? I know
there must have been something they wanted him. I don't know what the reason was, but they wanted him. And maybe because sometimes Zimmer's like that. Mike Zimmer, he has an abrasive personality, but he gets things done. There are certain coaches that have an abrasive personality, but they get things done.
Another Parcells disciple. Kafka was Giants refused to let Kafka, the Seattle Seahawks, and Kafka talk. So teams can do it if they're under contract. Some teams don't. I mean, the Giants have done it in the past with other coaches where they just won't allow the other teams to talk to them. So
why would you want to spike an assistant coach or coordinator who you're not planning on retaining? Obviously,
I didn't think it was right, Jack. I didn't think it was right because here's the thing: when Brian Callahan got the Tennessee head coaching job, he wanted his dad, who was in Cleveland, Bill Callahan, in Cleveland, let him go so he could coach with his son.
Sure, which is the right thing to do. But in a case like you mentioned, Eric Bieniemy, the Commanders weren't going to give him the head coaching position. Exactly. And whatever new coach they came in, the odds would be strong. They wouldn't have Bieniemy stay on as the offensive coordinator. So just let him go. Let him out of the contract.
I would have, but
at that point.
I don't know why they did it that way. I didn't think it, but it was an interesting thing. I don't know what his first name, Johnson, the guy from Detroit, interviewed with him. And they said that. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
What he said?
Ben Johnson.
He said that. Ben Johnson, and he said basically that the reason he pulled out of it is because these are basketball guys. they don't understand football and how it works. I'm just telling you, he thought that they were basketball guys and they were trying to do it in a basketball way as opposed to a football way. And truth or not, but that's why he said he pulled out.
Ben Johnson.
Well, the talk was he wanted too much money.
Exactly.
You know,
a lot of teams were interested in him, but his contract, what he wanted, they said was just ridiculous. So
I don't know. Yeah, but that's what his excuse for pulling out of that.
So let's get back to some of the Super Bowl news coming out. Do the Chiefs need a victory in the Super Bowl to be considered a dynasty? I know what my answer is. What do you think, Jack?
I think the word dynasty, you can't link it to championships anymore because it's such parity. The closest thing we've had to dynasty in the NFL were the Patriots, the 2 decades of excellence. They won 6 Super Bowls in approximately 20 years. That's 3 Super Bowl wins for every 10 years. Is that a dynasty? That's as close as you're really going to get. Yes, 6 AFC championship games in a row. And now they're their 4th Super Bowl in 6 years, and they would have won 3 or 4. Yeah, you could call it a mini dynasty if you want. But even if they lose, the idea they've been there year after year after year, I think the term dynasty originated with the New York Yankees. And even with the New York Yankees, they'd win a couple of World Series, lose a couple. As long as you're there at the end of the year, you're towards the top. It's a modern day dynasty, but I don't know even should we use the word anymore.
What do you think?
Well, here's the thing I'm looking at is I think if they win this Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes has to be considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of this era, not of all time, but of this era. The team, if they win the Super Bowl, you have to look at it. They're the team of the 2020s, the 2020s, and because they have won some Super Bowls. This will be their 3rd Super Bowl in the 2000s, 20s. And I think that you have to start looking at it. And it's just like the Cowboys in the 90s. And you look at, like you said, the Patriots, the 49ers in the 80s, and the Giants, and teams like that. It goes in decades, and that's how you got to look at it. You can't look at it as a dynasty. They're a dynasty in that decade, I would think.
Listen, I don't think that Mahomes has to win, and the Chiefs don't have to. I already think they're a dynasty, a mini dynasty, whatever you want to call it. I think Andy Reid is probably he's going to go down. He's definitely in the Hall of Fame. He's going to go down as one of the greatest coaches.
Oh, no question. He's very innovative.
From what he did with the Eagles and what he's done with Kansas City.
I would agree.
I agree with Jack that dynasty has kind of lost its meaning somewhat.
Exactly.
But I mean, if you're going to 6 championships in a row, man, and you're going to your 4th Super Bowl, I don't know what a dynasty would look like if they didn't do that. So there's no doubt that. Go ahead.
They have one of the best quarterbacks in this era. I don't like
this era talk. I kind of joked around with Jim a couple of weeks ago whenever saying if we had an all-time NFL draft, he might go in the 7th round. We're having a little fun. But let's make
he's not get drafted, Jack.
You might go undrafted, Jim. Every player.
I doubt it.
But let's say, but I'd sign you as a free agent and you'd make my team, okay? But let's say hypothetically, guys, every player who ever played this game could be 22 years old again, and he had his whole career in front of him.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes would be a top 3 pick, conceivably go number 1 because of his mobility. And I'm talking about everyone. Don't tell me John Unitas. He wouldn't go in the top 3 or 4. We're talking mobility issues. Patrick Mahomes would go in the top 3. All these teams would gobble up the quarterbacks. Brady would go quick. Mahomes, Manning, Marino.
So you're trying to tell me that Lawrence Taylor wouldn't be the top pick?
Lawrence Taylor, as soon as you got done with the quarterbacks,
No.
LT probably would go first.
Reggie White would be a top pick.
Reggie White would probably fall to about number 15.
Oh my God. Bruce Smith. Right.
Bruce Smith was great, but if I know certain guys, I know I'll be able to get in the second round.
Alan Page.
Bruce Smith
Alan Page was an old timer. I'm going to give you a great receiver.
Randy White. No. Roddy,
right.
I'm going to keep throwing these at you because I think you're again. Here you go by position.
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest. Yes. Is he greater than Franz Arkin? I don't know.
If you have an all-time NFL draft,
is he greater than Joe Montana? Is he greater than Joe Montana? I don't know. Is he greater than Steve Young?
Teams would pick him ahead of Joe Montana if they're starting a team. The mobility issue. Patrick Mahomes.
Joe Theismann had mobility. That doesn't mean he's going to be picked number one. That's crazy.
Obviously, he wouldn't. Joe Theismann wasn't nearly as good. I'm talking about the all-time great players.
He went to a few Super Bowls. He was pretty good, Jack. Pretty good.
He was great. Joe Montana would be.
I'm talking about Joe Theismann.
Would be a top 10 selection of all time.
Jack, that is so flawed. It's ridiculous. That is flawed. That is very flawed.
So you're telling me all these guys, if you had an all-time NFL draft, they were all 22, you would take a bunch of these quarterbacks ahead of Patrick Mahomes, is what you're trying to tell me.
I didn't say that.
You leave it to Jim. Jim's drafting would be worse than his picks on the NFL games. He would take Roger Staubach ahead of Patrick Mahomes.
But his mobility, Jack.
Jimmy Brown. Jack, Jimmy Brown.
Uh-oh.
Jimmy Brown, what made him so special is that he was ahead of his time. That's what made him so special. But if you put Jimmy Brown in today's era, he would still be outstanding. He'd be outstanding. But he wouldn't be in a class of his own.
Could Patrick Mahomes play when Jimmy Brown played?
Oh, easily. He would be great.
Wow. I don't know. No roughing the passer.
You're right. You have a good point. With the rules being what they are, they could pile on them. They could take cheap shots. Yeah, yes. I agree. Yes. That's a fact.
So again,
this is saying that with cheap shot artists now.
Jack, cheap shot. Well, Jim was allowed to take cheap shots when he played. Jim couldn't get away today with what he got away with when he played.
He played real football.
No, they would take some cheap shots when they could.
That was called real football at the time, Jack. That was football at the time. That's the way they played the game. They weren't a bunch of sissies like they are today. That's all. So anyway, I think Jim would be. I think Jim Jeffcoat would be picked in the top 10. How's that? That's my.
No, I'll get out of here. Come on,
Jim. I'd pick you in the top 10.
In the 7th round, maybe the top 10, Jim. You're talking about all the guys in the history.
I know. Listen.
Yeah, they do have it on.
Whoa. Who would you take, Matt? Jim or Chuck Bednarik?
That's different, though. It's a different position.
Chuck Bednarik.
Well, I'm not talking for your position, Jim. I'm talking about every position. Every guy who ever played the game.
Well, listen, Chuck played center too, so he's a little more about. If Jim played offense, if he played tight end or something.
That's right, Jack. Jack, you're screwed.
Jim would make my team. I would sign Jim as a free agent if he didn't get drafted. Jim would be on my team.
If it was like you, flag football, then I probably wouldn't get drafted.
That's
the flag football guys of today are better than when I played it.
So back to the Super Bowl stuff and the Chiefs and the 49ers. There is a Shanahan when he picked Purdy, it was over the objections of almost all his coaches. Even though he was Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick. They didn't like the pick. They didn't think he was big enough, strong enough, fast enough, all that good stuff. Shanahan said the third day in camp, he knew Purdy was going to be his guy. How's that?
Well, you have nothing to lose when you have the last pick in the 7th round. They have no better than a 50-50 chance of making a team. I remember reading about that pick, Mr. Relevant, and I remember reading that it was actually a decent pick, that Purdy wasn't bad, that was good value with that selection. I don't know why that stuck in my mind, and wow, was that great value. But yeah.
But here's the thing about Purdy, and I'm not for him or against him, but he did start 4 years, and he saw a lot of football, and he played a lot of football. He wasn't, a 3-year starter. He was a 4-year starter, so he did see it, and and he does have some talented players around him. I think, other than Mahomes, the 49ers are probably more talented than. That doesn't mean they're going to win the game than the Chiefs.
Purdy did set a lot of records at the college he played at, too. I think
I would say.
Ridiculous. Yeah, something ridiculous.
But why did he fall as far as he did? That's the question. I mean, all these teams could have taken a fly on him in the 5th, the 6th, the 7th round.
I don't know.
That's a good question. I don't know, Jack. You make up a valid question, but how many times have people missed on players or coaches, or really the draft gurus? They miss on players all the time. I mean, when you look at this year's draft or last year's draft, and Puka, he was very effective, and there were some really good receivers in there, but he was very effective. Was he the best? I don't know, because you got Flowers, Addison, you had some good receivers. But
sixth round pick. I mean, these guys did their homework, and I think again, I always talk about the drafting department. These people out there make their money by finding these jewels late. Anybody can pick. Everybody knows that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a great pick. They don't know about the Nukas. They don't know about these other guys out there, and not only in regular schools, but in the secondary schools, like Jacobs came from. These guys, this is where they make.
He makes a good point, because Bill Parcells, don't tell me about the guys that go in the first round. Let me know about the free agents and the lower round picks.
Right.
But sometimes a player is impossible to read a pick at a certain position, because he gets better a year later. 1 year makes all the difference. He matures physically, emotionally, and it all comes together. And you can't see that because it's not on his college film, because he didn't perform that way in college. Look at Pacheco, 7th round pick of the Chiefs.
Right.
Who would have ever thought he'd run with that type of abandon?
And then it also is where they're playing at. I had a player who played 9 years in the NFL. His name is Demetric Evans. And what happened was, he played behind Marcus Stroud and Richard Seymour, but he played, and he was pretty darn good. So we were looking at him, me and Tommy Hart, the great Tommy Hart. He was a scout. So this guy's pretty good, Tommy. We need to take him. He said, yeah, we do. And we didn't take him, but we had him, got him as a free agent. And this kid played 9 years. He played for Dallas, San Francisco, and Washington. So you don't know. Sometimes they're in a situation where they're not starting, but they're playing, and they're playing well.
And that happens. That happens a lot, Jim. Especially, you look at Barkley. He was a starting running back, but you had the running back from the Eagles there. Trying to remember his name real quick. Playing behind.
No, it wasn't Swift, was it? Because he was the Swift. No,
it was the guy that was with him last year. They traded away. All right, number 26 too. You're right. So I mean, these players, they're really good. I think even in the Oklahoma days, when they were running the wishbone, you had all 3 running backs were taken. There was 3 running backs that they looked at too. So I mean, you're right. It depends on the amount of play time you get and who you're behind. Billy Sims, was starting, but there was somebody behind him that made it.
Well, you tell a great story, because Thurman Thomas was the lead back for Oklahoma State.
Right.
Who was the kickoff returner? Barry Sanders.
Wow. Right.
Think about that.
There you go. As we all know, Carl Weathers passed away famous for the Rocky films. Also played as a linebacker for the Raiders for I don't know how many. I think was it 6 years or something like that, Jim?
I didn't think it was that long, but he
all right.
No, he was just there basically.
I think
he used the time for a cup of coffee. He wasn't there long.
Yeah. So anyway, he passed away. They had to alter. He did do a commercial. They doing a commercial with him and Gronk. Gronk's going to try that field goal again. And Gronk was walking across the Las Vegas desert there. Carl Weathers picks him up, throws him in the sidecar, tells him he's going to make the kick this year, the $10 million field goal. So they kind of they had to alter it because he did pass away. So anyway, so look for that. That commercial will be out there during the Super Bowl. A Crafty Wags Inc. signs an NFL clothing deal with the help from Taylor Swift, wearing her brand there at the games. So Taylor Swift helps this woman entrepreneur sign a deal with NFL to sell her clothing brands. That's pretty cool too. And a lot of people are on Taylor Swift. I like the girl. I really do. I think she's.
I do too. I'm sorry. I don't think she is a detriment to them.
Let me ask Jim this, okay? Because he's used to Super Bowl week being in a couple. The Grammys are this weekend. Were they last? I don't follow the Grammys. Forgive me, but they're this weekend. And there are few whispers. Well, she supported Travis Kelce. He should be there for the Grammys. Is there any possible way, considering how Taylor Swift has kind of lifted the face of the Chiefs franchise and, public perception, is there any way that Travis Kelce could have made the Grammys where Andy Reid could have said, look, get on the plane, get over there and come back quick?
No, I don't think it is. But she's going to the Super Bowl. Did you hear? She's performing in Japan.
Yeah. I was just going there.
How is she going to get to the stadium with the traffic to get through?
She's taking a plane.
It's Vegas. Yes. They'll probably have a helicopter.
Helicopter. Right. Yeah. So the Japanese government came out and said, "Don't worry. Well, Taylor Swift will get there in time. If she leaves right after the concert, she should be in Vegas."
The government's getting about whoa. The Japanese government is getting up to the game. That is intense, man. Oh man. Unbelievable.
So anyway.
Why don't they cancel the concert and let it do it the following week?
No, it's already scheduled. What are you gonna do with all the tickets you sold, Jack? But anyway, they're gonna fly her. They're gonna fly her. She's gonna take a private jet into Vegas. She should be there in plenty of time. So she'll probably get some sleep on the jet going over there. Yeah. So anyway, so listen, I tell you, at first she does irritate me still. I gotta admit that. But I do see all the good she does helping people. She pays all these people millions of dollars that are working at her concerts. I mean, she's just a good person overall.
Yeah, I think she is too. I don't have an issue with her. She should. What's the big deal? Over history, Simone Biles is married to a Green Bay Packer, and there's players that have wives that are famous. It's a big deal. I don't know. Big deal.
I hate to talk negatively on anyone, but it bothers me. You hear about athletes. I hope it's not true, but the rumors have been going around all the time that Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, they don't even tip, or they tip very, very, very little. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not for over tipping. If you're a big time celebrity, tip 20% of the bill, whatever the darn thing is. I don't expect you, if you're eating in a restaurant and let's say the bill's $100 hypothetically, to give an extra $100 because you're wealthy. You don't necessarily have to do anything like that, but just give the fair amount. Don't under-tip. That's the point. Not when you're filthy rich.
This is from a guy, Jim. This is from a guy who won't tip the person at the counter at the bagel shop. I mean, this is
wait. I'm a generous tipper. Wait. I told him a story, Jim, when I was in Atlantic City.
Yes.
I got a bag of nuts. It was $3. Okay. I gave a $5. I was asked did I want any change. Yeah, I want my $2 back. All I did was my bag of nuts at the counter. It went zip like that. I'm not tipping for that.
There you go.
I have
Cheap
to admit that is you shouldn't tip in that situation.
Listen,
no,
I
I
don't.
didn't. Not
I
as nothing with something that goes.
I don't
2
disagree
seconds.
with. I
Come
don't
on.
disagree that you probably shouldn't tip that, Jack. All I'm saying is he's telling people that they're cheap when he wouldn't give any money at all. That's all I'm saying. So
I'm a generous tipper, Matt. Come on.
okay, I didn't hear that.
I mean,
So
He's
Vegas.
the one,
don't
he's
put
the
me
one to go to dinner with, and he slides the bill over to you.
Well, yeah.
Right. So Vegas anyway. Vegas is holding the Super Bowl. We do have the Philly sports guy. He is converted to Judaism as he's been at a bar mitzvah. We'll bring him on here and we'll talk to him a little bit about that. That's very interesting. I thought Pags was Italian Christian, but I guess maybe he met somebody. I don't know. So
Pags will really do anything to win with the Eagles.
Right. So let me get Pags up in here and let him. Let's say
I'm kind of interested in this. I like for you to explain.
Shalom, Pags. Shalom. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm up in beautiful, like I'm like in Giants country. Actually, I'm in Englewood, New Jersey.
Oh,
and I was invited to a bar mitzvah yesterday. And they were big Eagles fans, and they said, let's show everybody up here. So here I am.
Yes, it is bar mitzvah. It's a woman, right?
Bat mitzvah. It was for a girl.
A girl, right? Which I didn't even know there was such a thing. I didn't know. I see the girls are always getting in on the guy stuff. I don't know why they let them do that, but that's okay. So Pags, I saw you there in your full gear. You're getting them pumped up. And you got your Eagles jersey on. So it's quite entertaining. Did you just sing or did you dance? Did you do any of that stuff?
They don't stop dancing.
Right.
They dance the entire time.
Right. Okay.
So it was a lot of fun. It was my first ever bat mitzvah.
Yes, there you go. All right, cool. So let's get into a little bit of the news here. I know your Villanova is your favorite college basketball team, right? Before I start.
Okay. We'll go with that.
All right. So we'll talk Eagles and Villanova for right now. AJ Brown, not surprised that the offensive coordinator Brian Johnson got fired after a disappointing season. Of course, he says that, it has a lot to do with the players too. I don't know if I agree with that. They're the ones that come up with the scheme and come up with the, how the offense is going to play. What do you think, Pax?
Well, I think there's always got to be somebody to blame. Somebody's head's always got to roll. And it was Brian Johnson's. Yeah. I think when you really look at it, you can't argue with the fact that the offense become very stagnant for the last 6 weeks. And everybody knew what was coming. Everybody knew what was going on.
I agree.
But let me ask you this question. And I'm hearing what you're saying, but this was the same guy that was the coordinator when you were 10-1, and you did have some injuries.
Yeah, we didn't really have any injuries. We had injuries to AJ Brown for the playoff game.
Yeah,
but we didn't have any injuries.
Johnson, remember he had was it his groin?
Yes.
No. He didn't miss any games. Goddard was out for a couple of games, but that again. We won 2 games with Goddard out.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. That's true.
And then
remember Justin,
once things started to turn, they just didn't turn back around.
Yeah, and then Jalen Hurts got a little ding because wasn't it his knee?
It was earlier in the season when he got that ding.
And then he got the finger that got hurt there.
Well, the finger was again last week of the season.
Right. Good morning to Sandy Meriwether Muragiota.
Mergelata.
She says, good morning to Pags. How about us, Sandy? We're here too. We were here before Pags was here. Why you don't wish us?
Yeah, well, I just because I shared it out to my people, and all of a sudden my people had come.
All right. Okay. Well, good morning, Sandy. How you doing this morning? Defensive back coach DK McDonald leaving Philly. The Eagles are not interested in having him back. This is what I was talking about before. They're hiring Miami coach Joe Kaspar to replace McDonald. Does it matter, Pags? I mean, again, injuries at the end of the year. both your two defensive backs there, Bradbury and the other guy there.
Hey, listen, Bradbury did not play very well at all this year. He had something else on his mind, I gotta imagine, because he was a shell of himself from when he was with the Giants and when he was with us for the Super Bowl. Right. So he was not the same. I can't blame that necessarily on a coach, but again, when things are bad, heads are going to roll.
Pags, everyone was assuming Jason Kelsey was going to retire, but the longer he doesn't make the announcement, the more likely it is that he's going to come back. Would you agree with that statement?
I've said from the very beginning I think he's coming back. So I think he's coming back. I think Fletcher Cox is coming back. I think they're going to run it back for one more season. I feel that, interestingly enough, especially if Kansas City wins the Super Bowl, I don't think Travis is going to retire either, because you don't have many opportunities ever to three-peat. And to be the first team ever to three-peat is something that any team is going to want to try to do. Now, if San Francisco wins, I think that there's more opportunity for Travis to retire. And I think that when they retire, they're going to retire together because they want to go in the Hall of Fame together. And I think they both will get on the Hall of Fame on the same ballot.
Quite possible. Jamie, put the paint on and play that piano. Okay. So I didn't know. Yeah, the piano in the back. Okay. So
my fingers are too fat.
All right. So there you go. Pags with his fat fingers. So really, Pags, do you like Villanova? Because I don't want to get into it with you about Villanova if you don't like it. So.
Oh no, get into it with me. I mean, I live right down the street from them. They were great, and then Jay Wright retired, and now they're not so great.
Villanova basketball news. So it must kind of bother you that the Knicks have three of the Villanova players that are really helping them, propelling them to maybe the Eastern Conference Championship against the Celtics this year. Don't look at me like that. There's a possibility. And they were
there's a possibility, I guess. And you know what? There's a possibility that pigs could fly. There's a possibility that the Jets could be in the Super Bowl this year. You know, there's possibilities for lots of different things.
You're just
go
ahead, Jack.
No, I'm just saying teams go in different directions. You know, the Jets on an upswing, the Eagles are kind of descending.
Hey, listen.
Now.
I heard more than my fair share of Jets chants last night. I mentioned Jack last night more than I wanted to, because there was a lot of Jets fans. Jets fans. I had Giants fans around me, but of course, there was a lot of Eagles fans in this area too, which really surprises me since we are deep in the heart of Jets and Giants.
I'm just going to say one more thing, and then I'm done with the Jets talk, unless Mac brings it up later. Jim, we've got Aaron Rodgers. That's all I'm going to say.
And maybe this year he'll play more than 4 plays.
And you can keep him. I don't think anybody else wants him anymore. Pags back to Villanova. What I'm saying is that the Villanova connection, the three players that have a chemistry from playing in college together, they're right down the street from you guys. And the 76ers, I don't know if they made a play for him or
not. They probably didn't.
Yeah.
And listen, good for them. I'm glad to see them doing very well. Even in New York Knicks uniforms, that's great. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, they got to perform in the playoffs, and they're going to have to win those types of games. And until they do that, they're still going to be Knicks.
Well,
just the one thing we know about the Knicks are like the Mets. The Mets it up. The Knicks will nick it up.
We won the series last year, Pags.
Oh, you won one series.
Yes, we did.
Well, against the Cavaliers. Joel Embiid, his recent knee issues. I mean, is that something to be concerned about?
Yes, it is.
Well, see, I guess I won't have to answer since Mac has already got my answer for me. You know what? He was having an MVP year. He started to listen to the noise. Oh, you're faking it, blah, 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 blah. Truth of the matter is that you can't listen to the noise. You can't listen to the people that mean nothing in your life. And that's what happened. He started to listen to the noise, tried to play, and wound up hurting it more. I think he's going to be out for a few weeks. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think he'll be well rested for that playoff run.
It's a torn meniscus.
At some point, Pags,
it's
don't
not
the
torn.
Sixers have to make a bold move if they want to win the NBA championship? I'll just give you an example. Making a deal with the Pelicans, well, let's say Maxey is the centerpiece of the deal for Zion Williamson.
Nope. I don't want Zion.
Pags, he does this with everybody, with Zion. I don't know what his hang-up is with
great.
Zion.
I mean, if
I heard that there's that there is talks already happening, and that it may wind up happening before Tuesday. I can't confirm this, but that they are talking with the Heat,
Jimmy Butler,
and that Jimmy Buckets could return to Philly.
I just don't see Miami I don't see Miami letting that happen. I really don't. That's the only problem. I don't see Miami letting Jerry.
Well, what can they would have to get from the Sixers? Maxey would have to be part of the deal, and they would have to be getting a bunch of draft picks.
They don't.
Pat Riley is too smart to trade Jimmy Butler away unless he gets a big haul in return.
Pat Riley is 2 years younger than God. So I'm not really concerned about what Pat Riley wants. I think that he's looking to clear space. So they're going to get picks. They're going to get a couple of pieces. Hey, listen, I don't know if the Sixers even have enough is the problem.
Yes. Listen, Pat, but don't look, Riley is a great GM, was a great coach. He's a great business. I don't.
Yeah, but he is also 2 years younger than God.
I've seen older, that's for sure. So anyway,
have been competitive as a GM and as a head coach
and as a player.
As a player.
Yeah, he was a very competitive.
He hated Pat Riley because he was drafted by the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Who? Yeah. I didn't know that. So there, see, I learned something today.
Yep.
So back to Villanova. They started 6-1. They've suffered 3 losses, 1 game above 500, and they've gone 5-9 since Black Friday. So Villanova having some problems right now. They could turn it around. They win their conference. They're in no matter what they're in.
Yeah, without Jay Wright, they're having a hard time.
Yeah.
Right.
College basketball is different now because even the really good teams are getting beat. So
well, and the problem is that in basketball, the portal is a much more difficult thing to deal with. Yes. The NIL and the portal. That's why Jay Wright got out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you're seeing these football coaches get out because they're not interested in playing these games with players. They don't want to steal players from other teams and such like that. I feel like that was the reason why specifically you saw Nick Saban retire. Because he doesn't want to poach players.
No.
That goes against what he feels. So and it's the same thing with Jay Wright. He doesn't want to have to go poach players. He doesn't want to have to deal with the NIL where some players are getting paid, other players are not.
It's true. It's true. The landscape, they opened up Pandora's box. That's what happened. They did.
They sure did. Carlos is waiting on the 76ers saying it needs to be blown up and they won't make it until they move on from 4 players.
Okay. I think Carlos just likes to hear himself talk.
Yeah. Guys, what do you think of this crazy rule with Doc Rivers after 1 game as Bucks coach is going to coach the All-Star team? Because according to the rules, that's what has to be. It's an embarrassment. He's embarrassed about it as well.
What?
Yeah, he's right. Doc Rivers is coaching the All-Star game, NBA All-Star game.
Has he won a game with the Bucks yet?
Won. He won last night.
Yay for Doc. Woo! Yes. He's 1-4.
So hey, listen, the next loss, they're down 4 players. The Lakers rested Davis and LeBron against the Celtics so they could beat up on the Knicks in New York. So that was a very classy move by them. So anyway, so that's so the next thing, the 9-game winning streak has come to an end. So hopefully they can start a new one going on there. We were talking about the Super Bowl, all the different things happening, the drama with the Super Bowl, and I haven't gotten to the McCaffrey Taylor Swift thing yet. So I think we're going to get to that. It seems like that Chris McCaffrey's mom did end up getting a box seat to the Super Bowl. McCaffrey's girlfriend, Olivia.
She's an influencer, I think.
Yes, she ended up buying the ticket for her mom, his mom. So there you go, getting in good with Christian McCaffrey's mom as the way to, I guess, her heart. So there you go. So that's been done. So
yeah, but he
Mrs.
couldn't
McCaffrey
afford it,
is
and
going-
mom couldn't afford it. He says that even my son can't afford the prices because in Vegas they're gouging. All they do is gouge.
11,000 a ticket.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Can you imagine that? I mean, that's half my paycheck for a year.
So the truth of the matter is that and this happens every year with the Super Bowl. These prices will go down some. You'll be able to get into that game for $3,000 at game time.
Well, there you go.
And,
so Jackie,
and Vegas should have learned something here from the draft. They gouged all the prices. They rose all the prices up. Nobody came out there. And you know what? What happened is they wound up having to, at the last minute, they had to lower the prices down. You got big discounts on rooms because nobody showed up because Vegas is trying to steal money. Yeah. So this is what happens. And you know what? This is the reason why Vegas shouldn't have this Super Bowl ever again, because all they try to do is steal money.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And whoever thought that Vegas with the betting and everything would end up having the Super Bowl, that still blows my mind. That's crazy to me. I don't get it. But the NFL is all down with betting again. So there are now. So there you go. Yes, and not only did she get the ticket to the box seat, she is boycotting Taylor Swift's music until after the Super Bowl. So she's still going to listen to it after the Super Bowl, but right now she's boycotting Taylor Swift's music. So I know Taylor Swift's very upset about that.
I know. You know what? She's going to lose whole couple of pennies.
I don't think she's going to lose a lot of sleep.
I would say not a lot of sleep, not a lot of money. I think that Taylor Swift.
Well, let me ask Pax this: how do you feel about Jason Kelce? He's been attending the Chiefs playoff games wearing like a Chiefs shirt, a cap, or whatever. He has on Chiefs gear. I mean, do you feel a certain betrayal, him being an Eagle, doing that?
No,
it's his brother.
It's family. Listen, and I've said this. I've said this before. I've said this before. If my son was a football player and somehow, some way got drafted by the Cowboys, I'd be wearing a Cowboys jersey with my son's name on it, because I am going to always support my family more than I'm going to support any sports team.
But they are your family. Case in point, after the Giants played the Jets this year, Saquon Barkley, who's close with his dad, the Giants lost. Saquon Barkley's dad was walking out with him, consoling him, and he had on his Jet gear, Saquon Barkley's dad, because he's a big Jet fan from the time he was a kid.
That's fine. But
Barry
that just shows how bad it was. Yeah. Hey, listen, I get to do what I do. You could do whatever you do, Jack. I'm going to do what I do.
I knew I would pique Carlos' interest with Taylor Swift, because I know he's a Swiftie down deep inside. So, also McCaffrey listens to Taylor Swift's music when he's on his run. So that's part of his workout, listening to Taylor Swift. I guess he listens to Shake It Off or something. So that's this is all Taylor Swift now, Jack. I know
she $331 million.
Yes,
she made the NFL this year.
Right,
she made the NFL. It's figured that she made them about $331 million
And the
from
Chiefs.
all of
And
her
the-
fans.
Yep.
Yeah, all of her fans buying Chiefs gear.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, she's just popular. I mean, you got to listen. She's going to leave Vegas. Pags, we talked about this. She's leaving Japan after the concert. The Japanese government is now involved in this to make sure this happens. And she's going to get a private jet. She'll make it to Vegas the day of the Super Bowl. Plenty of time to spare. They're going to make sure.
Without no doubt in my mind. She can't afford that jet. Come on now. She's going to get a private jet.
Now
you know what you're going to see on social media by the haters, the way, oh, well, she's holding up traffic, because she's going to get a big police escort, because now you got the
I can tell you, they got a heliport. She's going to land in a helicopter.
Yeah.
She's going to go to the heliport. She ain't going to go through traffic.
Yeah.
Think about
right.
that.
The producer knows all about Taylor Swift, too. She says she's one of the richest females in America, period.
Well, she's supposedly worth $1 billion, which makes you think she might get to the point where she can afford to be a majority owner if she pools the money with Travis Kelce, with the more money they're going to make to get an NFL franchise.
Wow.
She used to be an Eagle fan, Pax. Don't you feel betrayed? She was an Eagle fan because her dad reportedly was an Eagle fan.
Her father's still an Eagles fan. And she's still an Eagles fan. She just happens to be dating a Kansas City Chief.
Yeah, so she's got to root for the Chiefs. You know, I mean, that's probably her second team now, I would think.
Hey, listen, Jack, if you started sleeping with a Kansas City Chiefs player, you would start rooting for the Chiefs as well.
I'm not even going to have. Now's the time to mute me.
Jack is ready to go off.
I'm ready to be muted.
Wow.
Jack, calm down. Anyway.
How did we go this way?
I don't know. President Biden declines for the second year in a row an interview with CBS on the Super Bowl. And I don't know what his problem is.
He said it was too political. He said there's too much political things going on, so he's going to leave it alone.
Well, last year he didn't do it and they ended up canceling his interview altogether. Does that happen again this year, Jim?
I think they will, because he said he doesn't want this to be political. It's a football game. And he wants people. And plus, Taylor Swift is taking his place. And she's going to give she's going to have a press conference on the plane, the private plane.
Presidents have been doing interviews. It was every year.
I know.
It was almost like
they used to do it, Obama, with the NCAA basketball tournament, the first round. You know, they go over every game. And I remember Obama once talking about one of the games, not two of the biggest schools. He says, I like this team because of their ball-hawking defense. And I'm thinking, how does he know what their defense is? The guy's so busy. Yeah, but it was fun to watch him, though.
He likes basketball.
He was, but you don't know.
He like basketball?
Obama's a true fan of the game.
That also sounds like a very
fan.
Listen, if you don't know anything about football and you say, hey, you know what, their offensive line is fantastic, they're going to win these games in the trenches, that you could get through any conversation just using that line. That sounds like a static line.
So anyway, Kadarius Toney is now practicing. He's been out for the playoffs, practicing returning punts again. So I don't know if they're going to use him anywhere else, but they're going to try and recapture the magic from the last Super Bowl where he made that great punt return. So he's back returning punts again and practicing doing those. What's your thoughts on that, guy?
Good move. If he does nothing else but return punts, I mean, do they have anyone better to do it?
Do you think he's going to be back, Kadarius? I don't think he's going to be back.
No.
Because
I think this is trying to shut him up and get him off of social media for a little while.
But Jim, isn't that going to be decided in practice? If he's looking really good in practice, that's a difference maker as far as him making the roster or not.
I think he's a headache.
That's exactly.
Mac
Hey,
had
listen,
said,
he went bapping on social media, and you can't do that. Your team is about to play again for a Super Bowl, and you're bapping and crying that, oh, I'm not hurt. Oh, blah, blah. You know, they just kept me out, and he went off.
but
He went off on social media.
you could lose faith in the player. Look at McCole Hardman. I mean, the Chiefs get him back from the Jets. He fumbles twice in the playoff game with Buffalo. One of the fumbles could have cost the Chiefs the game. Can they have faith in him anymore in a big spot?
yeah. If he can help him win the game.
There's a lot of different people you could put back there returning punts. I mean, you could put a defensive back there, a safety back there. It's done all the time. I listen. I think you're rewarding Kadarius Toney. I think that's the wrong impression. If I was a teammate, I wouldn't be happy that Kadarius Toney is playing the Super Bowl at all. I wouldn't.
Right.
You got to sit somebody, which is unfortunate.
Right. So I mean, I'd be upset with the coaching staff right now. Why are you letting this guy in after he hasn't really done anything all year? And
my question is on that: is he gonna, just like you said, is he gonna help change the game? Is he returning punts can help you, or kickoffs? Can he help you get better field?
Possibly.
Well, let me tell you what always enters in my mind, and you guys will probably disagree. I think it's important that every marginal player who's never played in a Super Bowl gets in for at least one play, like a Sam Darnold, the 49er backup. Find a way to get him in for one play so he could always say, I played in a Super Bowl game. But coaches don't think that way. It happened even in the Olympics, that great United States hockey team in 1980. Their backup goalie, Steve Janikowski, I believe the name.
Are we trying to give everybody a participation trophy?
That's what I was
what that sounds like to me. Let's get everybody in. Let's get everybody in.
If I'm a player, I remember Steve Grogan before Patriot Super Bowl game. He was a backup, and he said, I play me special teams for even one play so I could say I played in the Super Bowl. You got to be ready to come in case there's an injury or whatever. I understand that. But I think it's important to get every player in for one play into the game so they can say they played in the Super Bowl.
Well, they all get trophies, so that's good enough.
They all get rings.
Everybody gets a ring. Everybody gets a ring.
Right.
Even if you got traded off the team, you still get a ring.
Yeah.
You want to be able to say you were in the stadium for Super Bowl game rather than be in the parking lot all game. Same thing. There's a difference involved.
What is
that? To the tune of about $5,000, or this year about $11,000.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Tax to get into the Super Bowl.
How are you going to tell?
One play, and then you put him back in the parking lot. You can say he was there for the game.
Yeah. How are you going to tell the rest of the team that a guy is playing that doesn't deserve to play?
One play, like in the Rooney movie. One play. Get him in there.
If he doesn't deserve,
so you know what I would laugh about, because he goes out and plays this one play. He goes on special teams. He plays that one play. That's the lane that gets opened up because he never plays special teams. He goes out there, and that's the lane they run in, and they let up a touchdown. Now he cost them that one play. Costs them the Super Bowl. Because Jack said everybody's got to play. Everybody needs the participation trophy. You lose the Super Bowl.
Listen, if you're the Niners and you're going to hand the ball off for one play on a certain play for sure, let Sam Darnold hand it off. No damage done.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
What happens if he fumbles? What happens if he fumbles the ball and it turns over a possession?
Sam Darnold can do his Sarchik.
How do you know, Jack?
I can't believe you even bringing up this conversation.
I don't know.
Because you want to get everybody into the game. It's important that everyone hits the field.
Jack, they're still part of the They're still part, Jack, they're still part of the team. They're on the practice squad. They're going up against them. That they're still part of the team. They don't have to get in a game that they're part of the team. They didn't let Phil Simms play in the Super Bowl. He was fine by the time the Super Bowl came around, but Jeff Hostetler brought him to the Super Bowl. They let him.
No, Simms was out. Simms wasn't help. No, Simms wasn't available.
Simms could have. Jack, he interviewed him. He could have played.
Simms didn't suit up that game.
He could have played one play, right?
He didn't suit up that game. Simms was
He could have
hurt.
played one play, Jack, but he could have.
Hey, Jack. Because of this conversation, I'm giving you a participation trophy.
Well, I mean, it's speaking of that, what do they do with the practice? Wait, the practice players, players on the practice team, are they on the sideline for the game? Or are they in the stands?
Yes, they're in there. They're on the sideline.
They're on the sideline.
I don't know if it's like that, but when I played, they were on the sideline.
Yeah, most of the time they are. They're the ones in the tracksuits.
Yes.
They usually have
good.
the matching tracksuits.
Good. That's the way to do it, at least. That's good.
So Jack's approval, we're good to go. Carlos says Tony was out because he was with his wife for first childbirth. That's not an excuse, Carlos.
That's good reason. Good reason.
No. Wait a minute. I mean, there are players. Dak Prescott is not playing in the Pro Bowl because obviously his girlfriend is having their first child.
That's a Pro Bowl, Jim. That's the Pro Bowl. Listen,
still, that's your first child.
You go there. I've read it. The woman drops the baby. Hello, good job. Back out on the plane. You're playing.
I disagree.
Hey, listen. The NFC is going to go as far as Dak Prescott takes them. The fact that he's not going to be there is going to be as far as they go.
No. I'm saying it is your first child, and you want to be there for any of your children.
I understand that.
When Mac coached, even though it was at the lower level, you never could have played for Mac.
I was not at my first child's. I was not at my first child's birth. I was working. I had to work. I had to put food on the table. I had to buy formula. They were going to let me go, or they would have let me go, but I can't make money if I'm not there. It's different with the NFL. I'm just saying the principle's the same.
He was afraid to be in that room. He didn't want to see it. He didn't want to see it. He was handing out cigars on the outside. That's what they did.
I was at my son's birth.
The fathers were never in there back in the day, and ultimately they were giving out cigars outside the room, and they didn't go inside to watch the childbirth. The doctor came out and said, "You got a boy."
Listen, that's a controversy. If the game begins and the woman goes into labor, do you expect the player to leave the game and that's it? Go to the hospital. The Super Bowl.
Didn't that happen last year? Was it last year or 2 years ago? When the guy's like, "Hey, you got to go. She's in labor now." He's like, "Oh, all right, kids, hurry up. Grab some of the confetti. We got to go. Mommy's about to have a baby."
Yeah, it did. Wasn't it Aaron Donald or somebody? It wasn't Aaron Donald. It was somebody else.
Yeah, but that happened very recently.
Yeah.
That the wife was in labor. She got all excited because her man just won the Super Bowl, and next thing you know, he's got to grab all the kids. Just won the Super Bowl, can't stay for the trophy because gotta go.
Well,
gotta
the
go
game's
watch
over at that point, so it's a little different.
Jim would leave. Jim would be in the Super Bowl.
I would leave. I'm not going to sit there and lie to you.
Jimmy Johnson would have your head.
My first son was born. He was the coach, and he said you need to be there with your wife.
Yeah, but not during the Super Bowl, Jim. Not during the Super Bowl.
Shoot, we weren't very good then, 7-9, but
7-9. That's exactly. Listen, and Jim wasn't playing at his best at that time either. So Jim was dismissed. Had Jim been at the top of his game the way he was later on, he wouldn't have been allowed.
The all-time NFL list.
And later on, after the best was yet to come for you. But at that point you were a little more expendable.
Wow. I don't know. I know we're not going to really pick the games until next week because the Super Bowl, of course, is next Sunday. What do you guys? How are you guys leaning and why? I mean, the Chiefs got the experience. 49ers really don't. The 49ers seem to have a more talented team. The Chiefs, of course, they've been there before. A lot of them have been there before. What are you leaning, Jack? Don't give us your pick, but if
I don't have my pick, believe it or not. I'm
Okay.
going back and forth, so you're not going to get my pick. But you know what I'm thinking about, which most people aren't? The Kansas City Chiefs defense. I'm focusing on them. Do they have finally an elite unit? Their unit in the past has always been okay, good enough. They haven't been a liability. They've gotten to become really, really good. Really good. And the 49ers have their big weapons, their big three that Brock Purdy could count on. McCaffrey, Samuel, Kittle, and other weapons as well, good offensive line. Can the Chiefs keep them within reason? I'm the only thing I'm going to say, I look for a fairly high-scoring game, but how much can the Chiefs defense contain the Niners when all is said and done? Because if they can do a semi-good job, the Chiefs, I think, will win, but can they? That's the question.
Jim, what do you think?
My question is that after watching the Detroit game in San Francisco, can they mimic what Detroit did to Kansas City, what Detroit did to San Francisco in the first half? Can they mimic it? And that would be good for Kansas City. But also, I think that San Francisco has more talent. I think they do have with Debo and Ayuk and there. But I have questions on them other than their linebackers on their defense now, because Detroit had the opportunity to win that game in the first half, but it's a 2-half game. So it's going to be a good game. I'm not picking anybody now. I think Kansas City, Chris Jones is going to make a difference in this game.
In that Detroit game in the second half, 1 or 2 plays, a reception of a football. Of course, we talked about the field goals. Detroit had that game. Detroit could have won that game.
Just imagine if he wasn't in position to try to get that interception and that ball just fell to the ground. That alone would have changed dramatically. And Brock Purdy, you didn't see Brock Purdy run for any first downs all season long.
Exactly.
So that was a couple of 3 monster plays. The 2 first downs that he got that he rushed for, and that one play where it bounces off of the helmet, which was a great play by Ayuk. And so it's those you change those bounces a little differently, and all of a sudden now you have a much different game.
Guys, let's not forget the Packer game before that.
The field goals. You go for it the first time on 4th down. Okay, you miss it. The second time, you got to get the points. You got to get the points. You are in an away stadium. You need the points. The first time, you get the momentum switch. The second time, when you go back down there, you learn from your mistakes. You do not go for it on 4th down. You get the points. Those points would have been a tie game. You never know what could have happened in overtime.
And you got to trust the Kansas City Chiefs kicking game more than the 49er kicking game. That would be pivotal.
Yes.
Moody has been kind of a little inconsistent.
Let me ask you this question. What answer did Kansas City going to have for Christian McCaffrey? And you got to ask that question because he's on the tear. The guy's
You're gonna need really good tackling by the secondary. McDuffie and them, they do tackle really well, Jim. So he doesn't break one. You're gonna have to try to control him so he doesn't have that big breakaway run. And if they can do that, they have a chance of at least squashing that part of the offense. But then you got Debo, and then you got
that's what I'm saying.
The biggest problem Detroit had, their defense, was that they would hit players, but they wouldn't wrap up.
Right.
The Chiefs wrap up players.
They're very good tacklers.
So that's the biggest difference. There was 2 plays specifically that the Lions actually had them wedged in. They didn't knock them out of bounds. They didn't wrap them up, and they still were able to break for 10, 15 yards. Those plays can't happen. You can't have those plays, especially on the biggest stage. And they held Christian McCaffrey to 38 yards in the first half.
Kittle or Kelsey? Wow, right?
The Kelsey plays because
Kelsey's going to be utilized a little more.
I think Kittle is a great player, but I think Kelsey, because of their scheme, he's going to get the ball. They're going to figure out.
I agree. But Kittle has that big downfield. He's a downfield threat.
He does.
Where Kelsey is more like a possession receiver that somehow wiggles his way around and scores. I don't know how. He reminds me a lot of Jason Witten, the way Jason Witten played when he got older. But anyway, yeah. So listen, you got Pacheco running out. Go ahead.
Yeah, but also Kittle's hands have been a little rough lately. He's dropped a few balls.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
that's a big deal. Again, and those are the other problems you can't have.
He does make the big play though, Pags. He does make that big play when he needs to. So that tells me he's going to be a hell of a matchup. And then you got Pacheco running hard versus like Samuels, who runs hard too, and they're both hard to tackle.
I think you have, if you're and Keith said that, but I don't think Brock Purdy is going to throw 3 interceptions. But it happened in this last game is they tried to make Brock Purdy win the game, and he did. They tried to make him in that.
And he did it against the Packers too. Let's not forget that the playoff game before the season was on the line, and he one last possession, and he drove him down the field.
But that was CMC. That was more CMC.
Yes, it was.
CMC was the one that won that game. I will give Brock Purdy the fact that he won that game. He put that team on his back, and he won the game against Detroit. But it was CMC that won the game against the Packers.
The Packers, the last possession, the pressure that
I understand, but CMC was the one that did most of that work. They put the ball in CMC's hands.
Neither of these two teams, and don't tell me Mahomes to Rice is the answer. Neither of these two teams, the Chiefs or the 49ers, truly has a dynamic wideout. Like a Justin Jefferson type.
Neither team? I disagree with that.
Team.
Hold on, wasn't Ayuk an all-pro player this year? Wasn't Tebow Samuel? He was hurt for a couple games, so he didn't get to do it. But.
No, he's not on the level of a Justin Jefferson. I'm sorry. He's a fourth weapon on that offense.
No, they got plenty.
I think Jack has been having too many sparring. Jack, what do we tell you about sparring with other boxers at this age? You can't be doing this sparring contest.
Well, listen. Ayuk is no Justin Jefferson, and I say that. But Ayuk is a very effective.
He's not an
you know how many other people are not Justin Jefferson? Every other wide receiver who's not Justin Jefferson. Come on now. Let's be. What are we talking about?
A.J. Brown is a dynamic wideout. That's what I mean. Neither team has an A.J. Brown as a wideout. A close. Neither the Chiefs or the Niners.
I don't know. If you count the tight ends as wide receivers.
He didn't wear the headgear right. The couple too many punches. I understand.
I'm talking about as a wideout. I'm not talking about as an offensive weapon.
Well, okay, but I mean, listen, I don't know what you're talking about now. I think that, listen, to me, this is going to be closer than a lot of people think. I don't know.
Everyone thinks it's going to be close. Matt, what do you mean a lot of people? Everyone thinks it will be close.
I've read somewhere people think the 49ers are going to blow KC away. Beside the point, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, guys. I don't think it's going to be.
I agree with the low-scoring game, and I tell you, I feel that for the 49ers to win this game, they're going to have to win by 10 plus. So they're going to have that. I think if you keep this close, I think that it's almost, it's almost the script is well written for the Chiefs to win the close games. The 49ers got to have a 10-point lead going with about 2 minutes left and hope that they don't get the onside kick after they score a touchdown.
People forget that Patrick Mahomes struggled against the Niners when they played before and didn't put it all together till the fourth quarter. But he was really struggling.
But
he did put it together.
Well, they were down 10 points. They easily could have lost that game to the Niners.
That's normal for Patrick Mahomes, Jack. He gives them advantages. Go ahead, I'll give you 10, spot you 10, and we'll still beat you. Keith Hamill, what's the
odds? What's the odds?
Odds, not the olds. Not the olds. The olds is Jack over there.
Well, no. Speaking about overtime games, do teams fade out at the end of the game because they're physically tired or get discouraged? We were talking yesterday about the Patriot-Falcon game when the Patriots came back. All of a sudden, the Falcons couldn't stop them for anything. Was it a question of the defense just becoming physically fatigued, or did they just became so mentally discouraged they were out of it?
No. I think for that game specifically, the offense was not on the field for was it 53 minutes in total? Because they got the interception touchdown and they were on a long drive, and then they went back down again and did a long drive, and then it was halftime, and then the Patriots got the ball first after halftime. So it was like 53 minutes that the offense wasn't on the field. And I think that when you're sitting that long, you could tell that the offense went 3 and out. And then they went, 3 and out again. And then they had a little bit of a drive, and they decided to go for it on 4th down. And instead of taking the 3 points, and that's what really did the Falcons in.
And talk about the Falcons offense. When they did get the ball, they didn't run the ball. They didn't try to control the clock. Ryan was throwing. They had Ryan throwing every time they touched the ball. I blame the Falcons offense as much as I do their defense.
Was Shanahan the OC, or was it Sarkisian? It was the old OC when they played.
Shanahan. I thought it was Shanahan.
I thought it was Shanahan.
It was Shanahan.
Yeah.
I mean, because that team, they have now 6 head coaches.
Yeah.
They were shown because they were shown the 2013 coaches of the Washington Redskins at the time, and then the 2016 Falcons. Same type of coaches. They had 6 head coaches. Both LaFleur's, Slowick was on that team as well, and McVay and such. So they had a lot of people on that team, all of which are not head coaches.
Yes.
Right. So before we go off there, we're getting near the top of the hour. Any thoughts on the Pro Bowl flag football game?
I'm not watching that. That's ridiculous.
Nobody's watching that. I'm not watching that either.
Here's what I say. Here's what I say about
that's my type of game. Flag football.
The NFL is missing out on doing something that I think that they should go a little bit of the way of hockey, and they should include the fans. Anybody who buys a ticket could sign up and get a chance to win and coach a flag football team for the Pro Bowl. You can pick 4 coaches.
I like that idea.
You pick 4 coaches. You have them come out on Friday. You could have a draft. And you think about having the Friday Pro Bowl draft where you have 4 fans choosing their team to play in the Pro Bowl, and then that team wins $1 million. Like they split up the $1 million between the team. And it's only be 15-minute games. You play round robins, and then the 2 best teams play.
Matt, can I ask Pags one last thing? I know we only have a couple of minutes. Big Dom, what's his status? Is he back with the Eagles next year?
Oh my gosh.
Big Dom is. You better watch because Big Dom's coming after you. He's got you on the list now. You keep mentioning his name. He's coming to give you a big slap. He's coming to give you a big slap. He's going to be like Will Smith. Keep his name at your mouth. Keep his name at your mouth.
You keep bringing it up, and you know the reaction we're going to have to that. Listen, Pags, I think that's a great idea about.
I like it.
Jack would pick all Jets, and that's the only problem with something like that. Jack would have Aaron Rodgers.
He wouldn't be able to do that because there ain't no Jets playing in the Pro Bowl.
Well,
South Florida is.
See, so he could get 1 Jet. He could get 1 Jet.
All right. We'll give him 1 Jet. Folks,
when you're a Jet all the way.
Yes, you are. The Jets and the Sharks. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming in. Great job, everyone. Thanks for all the comments and likes and loves and all that good stuff. Again, we'll be back on. Me and Jack will be on tomorrow morning with NESSP in the morning. Pags will be back with his crew on the Coast to Coast. Jim, of course, is on Wednesday with Byron Williams on J&B Talking Shop. Check us all out. We love you all. And check out our Roku channel. Have a great day.